I was nothing special. Just a wrench monkey in uniform. You know those guys who patch up the HVAC systems, calibrate gauges, swap out fried circuits so the real scientists can keep their toys running? That was me. Not a scientist, not a soldier. Just a low-level tech with clearance barely high enough to get through 2 doors without being stopped by a guy with a rifle. When I first got stationed at the Nevada site, I thought I'd scored the jackpot. Easy work, good pay, hush-hush government gig that I couldn't even tell my own family about. I kept my head down, fixed whatever broke, signed my non-disclosure forms like they were gospel, and tried not to notice that half the stuff I was maintaining looked wrong. Wrong like cables thicker than my arm running into empty walls. Consoles with controls labeled in symbols I didn't recognize. Rooms colder than the desert night with nothing inside but a faint buzzing sound that seemed to drill into your skull. Still, I told myself not to ask questions. Questions didn't get you promoted in a place like this. They got you reassigned. Or worse. At least, that's what I thought before I started hearing about something called Project CHRONOS. I wasn't supposed to know about it. Hell, people at my clearance level weren't even supposed to hear the name. But when you spend 12-hour shifts crawling under consoles and swapping out fried capacitors, you overhear things. Scientists whisper when they think you're too busy with your tools to pay attention. Soldiers don't stop talking just because a tech is in the room. Project CHRONOS. The way they said it, it wasn't just another weapons program. It carried weight, like a prayer or a curse. I caught fragments, temporal field generators, exotic energy signatures, non-human origin. One night, while replacing a coolant line in sublevel C, I heard 2 engineers arguing. One said the power source wasn't stable, that it wasn't ours to control. The other snapped back that if the brass wanted results, they'd push it anyway. Then they noticed me and shut up fast. After that, I started noticing things. The shipments that came in at odd hours, escorted by convoys of armed men who looked more nervous than the drivers. The way the base's clocks never seemed to stay in sync, even though we were surrounded by some of the most advanced equipment in the world. The way my wristwatch sometimes ticked too fast or too slow, whenever I worked near the deepest levels. And always, that phrase, Project CHRONOS. I told myself it wasn't my business. But the more I ignored it, the more it felt like time itself was pressing down on me, leaking through the cracks in whatever. They called us in at 0200 hours. No warning, no explanation, just an order over the PA system to report to sublevel Omega. That was a floor I'd never even been cleared to see before. When the elevator doors opened, the air hit me first, thick, charged, like the desert before a lightning storm. The room stretched longer than a football field, packed with machinery that looked part industrial, part alien. Massive coils spiraled toward the ceiling, connected by cables that glowed faintly blue, like veins filled with light. The scientists were everywhere, rushing between terminals, barking readings I couldn't make sense of. Soldiers lined the walls with their rifles ready, though I couldn't tell if they were there to keep something out, or keep us in. I was ordered to help stabilize the containment grid. Basically, that meant twisting knobs and watching gauges, praying nothing sparked under my hands. But even standing near the machines, I could feel it, the low hum crawling up through the floor, rattling my teeth. It wasn't just sound, it was vibration, deep enough to make my bones ache. Then the countdown started. On the far wall, a structure like an enormous ring began to spin, layers rotating in opposite directions, faster and faster until it blurred. The humming became a roar. My vision swam. The air itself seemed to bend, like heat waves rising off asphalt. And for a split second, I swear I saw the wall stretch, pulling away from me, the entire room sliding into something else. That was the moment I realized this wasn't an experiment. It was a door. The second the countdown hit 0, everything broke. First, the lights. Every bulb in the chamber shattered at once, raining glass across the concrete. The glow from the machines went blinding, then dark, then wrong, like it was shining colors I don't think exist on the spectrum. Colors that hurt to look at. Alarms screamed, but they sounded warped, like someone had recorded them and was playing them backward at triple speed. My radio earpiece hissed and bled voices, some were screaming, some were whispering, and some sounded like me. The ring tore open. That's the only way I can describe it. Not like a machine malfunctioning, like reality itself got snagged on something sharp and ripped wide. Through the tear, I saw landscapes that couldn't exist. Cities floating upside down in the sky. Oceans boiling black under twin suns. Mountains that bent in circles like they had no beginning or end. And there were things moving in those places. Things that noticed us. I remember locking eyes, if that's what they were, with something vast, covered in limbs that folded like knives. It pressed close to the breach, too close, like it wanted to crawl through. And then I saw myself. Not a reflection. Not a shadow. Me, but older, scarred, his eyes sunken deep. He was reaching out toward me, mouthing something I couldn't hear over the alarms. And behind him were other versions, hundreds, each one twisted differently. Some burned, some broken, some laughing like lunatics. That's when the first soldier vanished. 1 second he was running, the next he was just gone, leaving nothing but his rifle clattering to the floor. The breach was no longer just a door. It was a mouth. And it was hungry. Everything unraveled at once. Soldiers blinked out mid-step, like someone erased them frame by frame. One of the scientists aged 50 years in seconds, skin sagging, hair turning white before he collapsed into dust. Something crawled through. It wasn't one of the knife-limbed things I saw, it was smaller, shifting, like it couldn't decide on a shape. Every time it moved, the air bent and cracked. One guard fired at it, and the bullets just slowed down, hanging in midair before clattering harmlessly to the floor. The smell of ozone and burning metal filled the chamber. My teeth hurt. My wristwatch spun so fast the glass cracked. Around me, people screamed, but the sound stretched, drawn out like a tape warping in a broken player. And all the while, the breach yawned wider. I realized it wasn't just pulling things out. It was pulling us in. I ran. Didn't matter where, just away from that tearing light. Somehow, I made it topside. The desert night felt too sharp, too bright, like the stars had shifted while I was underground. Since then, nothing feels right. Clocks stutter when I walk by. Reflections lag a second behind. Sometimes I catch myself in the mirror, and the me looking back isn't doing the same thing I am. I don't think I escaped. I think I slipped into somewhere close. Almost the same. But not. And if that breach is still open down there, then this world's already on borrowed time.